This episode of Artist Decoded is brought to you by No Wave Academy. As creatives and artists, we have each personally experienced the turbulent road of artistic self-improvement. And as the co-founder of the LA-based artist collective No Wave and No Wave Academy, I can tell you that our objective is to offer an alternative path to a traditional arts education. No Wave Academy courses are taught by some of our favorite artists. They're also our personal heroes and colleagues. Some of these artists you may have heard on this very podcast, while others have been featured in exhibitions at the No Wave Gallery. Such artists include Casey Ba, Mia Bergeron, Nick Runge, Sean Cheetham, and Kate Zambrano, to name a few. All of our instructors are working professional artists that have been showcased in galleries and museums, both locally and around the world. At No Wave Academy, we work tirelessly towards evolving the way you learn and to expand your artistic passion and craft from the very best in the field. We believe that everyone has a unique artistic spirit. With guidance, experience, and the proper tools, students have the ability to invigorate and elevate their work. You can unlock and unblock your creative inner voice. Join us and walk into the next chapter of your personal artistic evolution. Go to nowaveacademy.com. That's nohwaveacademy.com. Type in AD-10 at checkout for 10% off. Now, on to the episode. Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. If you're listening to this at night, you're listening to Artist Decoded 189. I'm your beloved host, Yoshino, beloved if you want to call me that. And I'm just making a suggestion. You don't have to call me that, but if you want to, you can. This is my conversation with artists Sean Cheetham and Kate Zambrano. They're both very good friends of mine that I've worked with extensively for projects for our academy, nowaveacademy.com, if you all want to go check that out. Kate is an established artist who has exhibited internationally and is most known for her realistic drawings of people, but has journeyed into many fields of work and study. She went to college for a bit to study psychology. We also talk about her journey into becoming a full-time working artist after dedicating some time as a working model, shooting for brands such as Sephora, but she's also worked in fields such as marketing and even worked a bit on Wall Street when she was living in New York. And I found it interesting when she brought up her early works and how she presents her story to her students by showing them these works to show them the transformational process that can occur when you can simply focus your attention into the process of learning and by putting in the time and effort into honing one's craft. She talks about her love of teaching in this episode too, and how she tries to encourage her students to just keep going. I'm also very curious about relationships, so naturally, I ask questions about Sean and Kate's relationship. It must be the unprompted romantic in me. Insert a heart emoji if you would like, but the black one because men like black hearts and not red ones. Am I right? Anyways, so Sean, let's get into Sean a bit. Sean was born in San Francisco, California. We talk about his adolescence, where he developed a love of ice hockey and skateboarding when he was growing up, which from what I can deduce attributes to his love with working with various mediums. He's most known for his oil paintings. I know a lot of people love his alla prima technique in particular. He's also been featured in various galleries and museums internationally. He's exhibited at the National Portrait Gallery in London as well. If you want to go check out their work, you can go to their websites, katezambrano.com and SeanCheethamFineArt.com, or you can look them up on the good old IG. So here it is, my conversation with Kate Zambrano and Sean Cheetham. Hope you enjoy it. glad we got all the technical issues out of the way. But thanks for coming.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Love it here.
Well, that's it. That's it.
Thanks.
the end of the
Bye.
end.
See you guys. Have a good
Yeah,
year.
glad that we had this conversation.
Yay.
It's really enlightening.
Lighthearted.
Yeah, exactly.
Easygoing.
Straight to the point.
Exactly. So how's everything? How's everything been between you two?
Pretty good. No, we hate each other. No, it's been going great actually. Like we just work at home and
I had
That's
been
it.
like traveling for work a lot and just sort of wanting to stay home and spend more time with my son, and I'm getting both. So it's been great.
Yeah,
We get to be
it's so
home and
fun.
just work on stuff that we want to work on and
Yeah.
spend more time chilling. It's been nice, actually. Nice change.
Yeah.
I miss traveling,
Yeah,
but
we
also
miss, like, going
I don't
places.
miss living out of a suitcase and kind of dealing with
Airport
that all the
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
So it's been good. It's been okay. We
Yeah.
were trying to figure out like a new way of working with all the year of canceled work, but somehow things have worked out.
How have you two been able to adapt to it?
more online classes and no wave stuff. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, never heard of them.
Just definitely making ourselves available for teaching like online, whether it be like a streaming thing or teaching a private class or whatever, or like live streaming, just kind of like you said, like adapting to what's happening right now. So we just kind of do what we can, move it online as much as possible, but
also, yeah, part of adapting is just not teaching as much.
Exactly.
Because it's not,
It was
it's like a
it was
totally
crazy
different thing. Yeah. Teaching online, I've taught only classes from life. And so it's like, and I've kind of like was raised in that environment through school too. So it's like really weird to shift gears to just communicating through the internet when it's all been about like observing a live model and doing it in a time limit in a specific place. So it's hard to transition just figuring out the new way of teaching, but
I think everyone's just kind of trying to figure it out right now.
it's
like,
good because a lot of people just want to learn. So it's like at least there's people like coming to us trying to get classes.
It's accessible.
So it's nice.
And they don't have to travel for it. They can do it whenever. You can schedule around each other's schedule. So it's a lot more open, but it is not the same, obviously.
There's a lot missing, but
it's different,
adjust.
but it's not terrible because, we can teach our classes or do whatever with, pajamas on or, be comfortable and then not have to like travel somewhere and be really tired and worry about jet lag for 3 days and then get into teaching or whatever it might be. So it's great. And then it's also complicated. Just, I think everybody's having a weird transitional time trying to figure out what they're going to do now.
Yeah.
There's always just tech issues. Everybody now has to be like a cameraman and an editor, and there's too many things you have to learn just to get it to run smoothly. That I think holds me back for sure.
But I think that there's a lot of things that can be learned about just being able to adapt to different situations. And then, I mean, we all kind of have been forced to adapt to the change of the environment and, and I'm curious from both your standpoints, like what has been going on in your guys' heads about just being able to adapt to
Whatever's coming.
Whatever's coming or in the change in the landscape of the art world and all those things.
It's tricky. I mean, I definitely have lots of moments of just question. I wake up in the middle of the night wondering what's going on in the world. In my life, I forget if things are going well or not well. I'm like, but yeah, it's tricky. I'm kind of like wondering, will I ever teach like I used to again? Is that going to happen? Are we going to travel again? We're booked to travel next year for some European workshops and some domestic ones, but like it might not happen at all. So who knows how many years it'll take to change everything. But I've kind of enjoyed like learning new ways of doing things. And I think I've been teaching for so long that it's actually okay just figuring out new ways. The same thing for so many years got a little bit redundant and repetitive. So I think it's a little bit exciting. We did a live stream together and like that was pretty fun. I think, people had asked questions while we drew and it felt a little bit more live, which was cool.
Yeah, because people are interacting at the same time instead of like a streaming thing or whatever. So it's like we're still able to like talk to people and like feel like, oh my God, people are around instead of just being quarantined or whatever. That was nice.
Yeah, but that's just a demo. So like kind of I used to teach a lot where people would work and I'd go help them, and that's just like not something that you can't walk around and help people. Yeah. It's a lot of work just to do it like with multiple emails with somebody just to communicate. So that part I think is the hard part about it. I think just it seems like it takes more time doing stuff that's not actually the teaching.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more work.
So I'm always super curious just about relationships.
Okay, let's go.
I've actually considered creating a relationship podcast.
Oh.
Wow.
Considered it, but it's, doing these podcasts, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But first of all, I'm curious how you two both met.
Like, we've followed each other or like been friends on Facebook or whatever for years, just like, oh, it's that person that's like really good and everybody likes his work, and okay, cool. I'll never get to that level. Neat. And I just, like kind of just put it like, he's just a guy on the internet, like whatever. And then I was helping curate a show for a gallery and was working with Trakell Art Supplies to curate this thing where it's like Trakell family. And the person from Trakell, Courtney, that I was working with, she was asking like, oh, did so-and-so confirm? I was like, well, I haven't heard from this person and from Sean. She's like, well, why don't you just go ahead and text him because he's really bad at emails? I was like, no. It's like, he can email me like everybody else. And also it feels inappropriate to text someone because I don't want my number just given out and random people texting me. So I ended up texting him and it went fine. And, we just like didn't really chat then. But then like right before the show, we started chatting and then we just like found him. Like we never stopped chatting, like all day, every day. We're just talking. And it was like, I just found him really interesting. It was nice to like communicate with someone who didn't have any like motives or, pretentiousness. And it was just like really interesting to like learn about his life and like who he is. And, we had so much fun together. And then we just been talking like 24 hours a day ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. So thanks, Trakell.
And thanks to me being terrible at email.
Oh my God, he's so bad at emails.
So if anybody out there's waiting for an email, it's true. I'm terrible.
He's not good at emailing. I'm sorry. I try to remind him. But that's how we met.
And so I'm curious what your story is from that, like being on the other end of
me
the
just like
communication.
God, this girl's so annoying. Why does she keep emailing me?
I think, that's pretty much how it went. That's how it felt. I'm fine with like dealing with shows, people having to kind of like send extra emails to make sure. I'm like, I need reminders sometimes. Like a lot going
really
on. I don't have any assistant or anything. So like, I'm fine with people like, reminding me stuff all the time. So like, it just felt like another one of the things where I'm like, I said I'd do the show because I'm, working with Trakell and it was sort of like, I just had to do it. So it felt fine. Yeah. It was like normal way I deal with showing, I guess, in group shows and stuff. So, but I just, we found each other very interesting and I don't know, it just kind of clicked, like talking.
It was really like it was really natural. I don't know. I didn't just like, oh, I think this guy's really cute and I'm going to like slide into his DMs or something. Like it wasn't a planned thing. It just like ended up this person that we just kept talking and it became like we were really good friends and then, more stuff.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So it was nice.
Yeah, because I always wonder about just in general, just like cosmic connections. Mm-hmm. We try to articulate these things and try to intellectualize them. But sometimes it just certain things click. Right. And the people that you meet, it's just that instant connection. And I'm always curious about that in terms of like romantic relationships.
It was definitely that. I mean, I feel like, since we're talking relationships, we've all been married and divorced.
Yeah, we have.
And been in relationships.
Wait, you have too?
Oh
yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
interesting.
Yeah, and so like I think at some point you're maybe not looking, but like
no, absolutely
things just
not looking.
It just happened. So it just happened, and I don't know. It's
and
so
I think
easy.
It's
so
like
whatever
we try to quantify it and like intellectualize, and we as humans need like boxes for things to fit in to make sense to us. We have to compartmentalize them, and like you said, like it clicked. Neither of us were necessarily like can't wait to have a new relationship. Like. I've done so great in the past. So it wasn't like either one of us wanted it, but it was definitely like just a click thing. And it was natural and there was nobody was trying to change anybody. And it was just like easy.
It's been super easy, like just nice.
Yeah. It's really weirdly easy.
It's great to just like sit and draw and be quiet and and then not draw and just do other stuff.
Yeah. It's like, it's silly, it can be serious. It's just, whenever you have someone that just has your back and like, that they're looking out for you and they're on your side but also will like give you constructive criticism if you're the one like that's fucking up or something. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You can pass on. Okay.
Like,
beep.
like, yeah, like, you know, like a dose of reality, or like, oh, maybe, you know, like this is a different way or whatever. It's nice to just have someone that like actually truly cares about you.
Yeah. So you two meeting each other, like what comes to mind when you think about partnership?
Balance.
Yeah.
Support.
Oh, and also like the yin yang.
Taking
Always
care of each other. Yeah, I do talk a lot about balance and the yin yang idea with design, and just in design and art, but like I think in life in general, just balance. You know,
balance.
What are some of the philosophies that you think in terms of yin and yang? When it comes to art
I just
and
think
life?
like you can't like good comes with bad. You know, I do think like there's balance in like having to like, you know, be individual but be together, and you know, not everything's easy all the time, but that helps you kind of grow together too.
Yeah, especially if like you know that like, okay, this patch that's, you know, it's either about that or it's not about the like the relationship. Perhaps it's like outside circumstances, like knowing how to communicate, knowing how the other person thinks and works and what they need to get through something difficult is it's like, yeah, growing together and learning and just trying to know that person, you know, like if we're stuck together all day now, like quarantine. And so like you have to really get to know someone and I think for me, it's like respect. Like I respect him very much. So I don't ever like, I don't feel like putting him down or making him feel small or anything like that. Like I want to work things through no matter what it is with the respect in mind. Like that I'm with this person because I love him and I think that he's brilliant and all this stuff. Like I don't want to put him down or make him feel small or anything. So like the balance and then just knowing that other person, like how they work is really helpful for me. Just like to get through things.
Yeah, it's been like, it's like we say it's easy and fun, but like it's not like we don't have our issues here and there with just whatever, but we just talk through it and it's.
Yeah, I'm like, this is how I feel, like,
cool.
da 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 da, and then like, okay, this is how I feel.
It's just easy to talk about it, you know, and figure it out.
And also, both of you being artists, do you think that essentially going through a similar situation, you know, with the quarantine and COVID and everything, that you can empathize further with each other because you both are kind of on a similar path?
I mean, and not just for me during like quarantine or pandemic, like I used to think like way back in college, you know, kind of realized that like it's hard to have two artists in one relationship because there's this sort of like
competitive.
It can be competitive if you're both like trying to build your careers and maybe one person, you know, does better faster and it might hurt the other person. But then like, you know, then also I got married and stuff and like, she wasn't an artist and it was like, I'm just a different type of person, you know, always on the road working and like teaching and like, even at night, like I'm just brainstorming, work stuff, whatever. It's like the full-time job is like, it's a lifestyle. And like, it's not easy for people to understand like what it is. And like, and so I used to think it was like harder for two people similar to people like that to get along, but I think it's more personality based. But I do think like it does help that we both make art. We both do the same. We teach, you know, we've actually started teaching in the same cities in different parts of the country or world together. So that's nice because we get to go to work together, get paid to travel together. And, just working at home's been, it's great. You know, like we can decide if we both want to work or if one person wants to work. We've got different areas to go work.
And it's nice if one person wants to work and like, I'm like, by one person, I mean him. Like if he's like, I want to, you know, do this thing. And I'm like, I was really planning on just like doing nothing, but then I'm like, that's inspiring. I'm going to go work too. So it's like, it's nice to feed off of each other too. If like one person's on the couch and the other person's like working and then the other person kind of comes in and then just starts working. And it's with his son is like that too. So like, we'll all just be working together. So it's nice. Like whenever you say like going through quarantine and empathizing, like quarantine for us hasn't been that terrible. It's just been like the adjustment period and like trying to figure out what to do now, like because we can't travel for workshops, we can't do in-person stuff. So the adjustment period has been very interesting, but it's actually been really prudent for my growth, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think, something that I just think about too in terms of this, like the quarantine and also just the pandemic, is that a lot of people that might have, you know, gone to work or, you know, worked in an office or something, they're now faced with this idea of being like stuck with yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're constantly alone, but like as artists, generally we're being contemplative and thinking about things and solitary.
You're searching for those moments where you can get alone time.
Right,
you're like, I gotta go deal with bills or emails, but I just want to go be alone and do my thing. And like now it's like, get that all the time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of artists and creatives, like they have kind of a sort of quiet, like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's just like they're very internal and they're always thinking and they want to like figure out the next thing that they're trying to get, whether it be a goal or like a technique that they're trying or whatever. It's always like contemplative, but it's like really nice to be able to be around someone that is the same. So it works out really well.
And we've kind of set up our place to like be the place we want to be, we've got 2 studios in our regular apartment space. We work inside, but we have like a painting studio, and I've got a whole like shop for building anything I want with the knife making and blacksmithing, and I got a forge in there. So like it's our little playland, in a way. Like I love being home and just getting to work on whatever I want, and taking advantage. I play music, so I just sit on the couch and play guitar all day too. Like it's like, I can't right now because of my hand. So all the things I like to do,
you can't do any of it right now.
So it is driving me a little nuts right now that all I can do is draw. Boring.
I don't know. You built some stuff.
I built some stuff. I actually just built. I showed you that. Did some.
He's not going to listen to it.
No, well, it's going to come out. But I just made my son like this little skate box. I'm forcing myself to build with one hand, and it's been good. It hurts my hand, but it feels good to make something again, other than just a boring drawing.
I forced my way in to help him because I was like, oh, no. Please don't get worse. Like, let me just hold something.
You only need one hand to use a saw.
But do you think that that you need that for your mental stability?
100%.
Like, he has to.
She knows. Like if I don't work for like that's why right now like it's hard for me mentally just because I can't. Like I can draw and that's fine, but it's like kind of the thing I've done the longest. So and I do for money. So it's sort of the least interesting of the crafts I do. It's not my hobby. It's my jobby. So I need to make stuff. I need to make music. I just need to make things, whatever it is.
It has to occupy his brain. Like you were talking about, like people that have the 9-to-5s and then they are now forced to just be quiet with themselves. Like Sean's like that, except it's his brain that just wants to create. It's not that he's like not okay being like quiet. It's that like his quiet brain is telling him like get up and go work, go do something right now, like all the time. So he has all these like different hobbies that he's doing, which he excels at all of them. So like there's easily like 5 or 6 things that he can do, but because of this injury, like it's
it's debilitating.
There's only one thing left: the original thing, drawing.
Yeah, it's wah wah. Like,
do you both think that it's good to be able to put your attention into different forms? I know, Kate, you like to cook and bake.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
I clean a lot. So like
back to playing some music too. So it's like, and that's a daily thing.
He got me a flute for Christmas.
Nice.
So I've been playing because our neighbor upstairs, he's a musician. He let us borrow a flute, just so I could start practicing. And then Sean bought me one for Christmas, and it's like it's really awesome. So like I have things too, but like my like weird anxiety that if I don't do it, I'll go crazy. Is I have to clean everything. Like everything has to be clean. I'm like super neat freak. So like before anything happens, I have to clean. Like we left today and I didn't clean, and I'm just like,
well, you know what's really interesting is I was listening to this interview with the director Steve McQueen. He did 12 Years a Slave and Hunger and a bunch of movies, but he said that whenever he gets stuck in a writer's block sort of situation, that he'll go and clean the house, and that's supposed to be like an active. I mean, I guess you can accumulate to being like an active therapy.
Exactly, it is. It's true.
Yeah, and also just an automatic thing that you can do.
And it's like it's instantly gratifying because you're working, you're doing all this cleaning, but you're not necessarily like hyper focused. Like I have to spray right here. It's like an absent active.
Yeah, there's no
hobby.
creative brain.
There's nothing creative. You're just doing a task. It's a job, and I treat it as such. I work, methodically, and I have like a system, but I don't need to be on. Like I'm listening to a podcast, and I'm also thinking about like whenever I do this now, I can work on whatever it might be, and I'll free up my clutter and my brain to have a clean slate. It's like it's definitely like an active therapy in like a metaphoric way.
Definitely.
I don't have that. Mine has to be
No, it's mostly like he gets up and I just like behind him like clean up.
Mine
like as he's walking by.
My distraction has to really occupy my brain and creative energy, I think.
Yeah, but it also seems that those are also complementary things. It seems like
I'm dirty, she cleans it. Wonderfully complimentary.
He's really good at simplifying things. So it's really straight to
I also know that you like to cook a lot.
I cook all the time. I love cooking and making stuff, and that is my hobby. I make all the meals, and every time I'm doing something, I'm really trying to make it
Do you see that as another art form as well?
Absolutely. Layers of flavoring and textures and it's incredible.
Color, all that. It's definitely art.
So artistic, and the way you think about it is the same as whenever you make an art piece, I feel like. And so there's definitely the people who have Michelin stars, they're the fucking big ballers of art. They're true artists. They know what flavor complements another flavor and how you can layer that and how you can add a texture and da-da-da. So I've been definitely going hard on the cooking.
Yeah. Speaking of cooking and chefs, I was watching the Chef's Table with Massimo Bottura, and they were talking about, or he was talking about his relationship with his wife. And she said something that they were sitting in a movie theater and they were, just watching a movie. And then, as they were walking out, she could tell that he was thinking about something. And she asked him, she was like, what were you thinking in there? Because she could tell that he was occupied, right? And he was like, I was just thinking about the perfect way to make this dish. And, and I was also just thinking about the dynamic of certain people's relationships in that moment, but then also how the creative mind, you're constantly thinking about different ways to extract meaning out of something or to,
Definitely.
Or in these different mediums to be able to create with them. And I'm just thinking, do you too think about that as well?
I don't think I've ever thought about it, but it is one of the things that makes our relationship work really well, is that I think we both know when the other person needs to work, or if I can see he's thinking about something, he'll just be fucking staring off, or just and I'm like, what's going on?
Into the abyss.
But he's really also good at just talking about everything, because he has done since forever for teaching. So anything that's going on, he's constantly thinking about. But it's nice to know when the other person needs to get it out, and just, you need to go out there, you need to go work and know how to nurture that need of the other person. It's not about you. It's about their brain doesn't stop. They have to do it so that they can be present with you later or whatever. I don't know if I think about it, but it is just one of the things that I think makes this relationship nice is
yeah, you're very conscious of me needing to work or do things or zoning out or whatever. Yeah. And I think just the fact that she does the cleaning thing as her meditation, it helps. I just get out of the way and I go make some, work on something for a little bit or whatever.
For a few hours, I'll just knock
that's
out the
exactly what I want. Who doesn't want to leave the mess of the house and go
Who
make
doesn't want to
something
be
cool
served
in the
food
shop?
and then not have to clean it up? That doesn't suck.
It's fantastic. Yeah. But I mean, I try to help, whenever.
Yeah. If I need anything, all I have to do is ask him. But he knows, don't just do it because I
she
also
needs to
do it.
I gotta leave it.
Weird.
It
might sound weird and
it's my duty to
crazy,
leave the mess.
But those are our weird tics that we have, and we just understand that about the other person. And he'll be okay, I'm gonna go work, and then for a few hours I'll just clean the house and then make lunch or whatever. Then he comes back in, eat, and then I'll clean, and then I'll start working.
Yeah. So what sort of conversations have you two been having during this time period?
Hilarious ones. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. We just make each other laugh. We don't really have too many.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely talk deeply.
It's hard to say. It's been so long. It's almost a year we've been doing this. It's going, but the thing is, it's going so fast. It's weirdly
the longest
fast.
time and also the shortest time.
Yeah. We talk about everything.
We talk about everything.
It's hard to say. Yeah. We've been living just daily.
Yeah,
do you think that there's endless curiosities between you two, being able to constantly be curious of each other?
I am, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's also one of the important parts about a relationship is always being curious about the other person. The second you're bored and I know everything, then it's not fun and exciting anymore.
Yeah.
Like, even if you know someone super well, they can still be exciting, and like you can still learn new stuff about them. You know, like, how are you going to download your whole life into a person in an amount of years whenever you've lived, you know, however long prior? But I always am learning new stuff or anything like that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, just recently hearing her play flute. I'd never heard her play flute. And she just grabbed the flute and started playing, and like whatever she reads, she plays.
What do you think originally drew both you to wanting to be professional artists?
You want to go first?
Okay. Mine happened later. It happened about 10 years ago. I didn't know that people could just be artists. Like, I didn't know that was a job, really. I wasn't involved in any art sort of format or anything. And
what were you doing before?
I was like working at like random jobs. Like, I worked on Wall Street at one point. Then I worked in like a marketing office. Like, it's really just a wide variety of someone that doesn't.
Oh no, I was gonna say, and weren't you also getting your degree in psychology?
I was doing. I gave up on psychology like probably when I was like 23 or so. I just was. I didn't want to. I wanted to figure out my problems that I had growing up, like how tough things were. I didn't necessarily want to like listen to anybody else's problems. It was purely a selfish thing that I went to college to, like, with a mask of, you know, like, I want to figure out the great life questions and, you know, like, help people. I really just wanted to figure out like what was going on with myself. So I abandoned that. But, you know, a few years later, I just decided, like, I met some artists and I was like, I could do that. I was really terrible, like really, really not good. And I was like, oh, I could probably figure that out. And I just quit doing everything else. And then for like 11 to 12, 13 hours a day, I would just like try to draw something, try to like get better, try to do it every single day. Like, luckily I was able to spend that much time. Like, I was just, you know, working in like a bullshit marketing office or something, like with like a blanket and like two other girls. Like, we were just not really doing much work. So I was able to, you know, draw and whatever. And
that's where it originally started?
It started just, you know, just a kind of an obsession with like, I could do this, and not really knowing how much it takes to really try to make something look like something, you know, like a realistic interpretation of it. And so I spent like the subsequent year and a half just trying really, really, really hard to make something that I'm making look realistic. And without anybody helping me, just trying to figure it out stubbornly on my own. And so it took a while, I feel like.
What made you want to continue, although, you know, maybe the beginning stages were potentially naive?
Yeah, I think because of that naive sense of like, I could do this. Like, I just kept going. Like, looking back, I'm like, God, that's a little bit like manic. Like, it's like I think that's where that like OCD-ness kicked in, where I could finally put into motion like all the anxiety and stuff I felt for trying to like make something of my life, and that sort of drove me to keep going instead of like, oh man, I'm really not good at this. So I just like, I didn't give myself any other options. Like, that was my only option. I have to do this or I'm useless, basically. That's my story.
Yeah. And you also did a little bit as a kid and had some family members drawing.
Yeah, like,
so
I would always draw. Like, I didn't know how to. But it was always around. My uncle is an architect. My grandfather is a really brilliant artist. And then my biological father, he would also like dabble in art and stuff. And I remember him being very good. But like, it wasn't an encouraged thing. And whenever I'm like, hey, I'm going to be an artist, nobody knew that you, like, it wasn't like a common thing for people to be in Texas, where I'm from. So it was around, like Sean said, like, I was around art, but it was always someone's hobby or something. Like, my grandfather tried to help me learn things like negative space and stuff, but I'm like a 5-year-old and he's like, draw the inside of the spokes of the bicycle. And I'm like, why would I do that when I could just make a line? But now I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's brilliant.
My story is a little different. Yeah. I didn't think I'd be an artist, though. I mean, I was doing art from a very early age. My mom's side of the family was, there were artists in the family. My mom's father was an artist. My mom's parents are from China, but they ended up in Hawaii, and that's where my mom grew up. And so a lot of the family that ended up in Hawaii, or somehow in San Francisco also, is where I grew up. But from Hawaii. My grandmother moved to San Francisco. So we had a lot of art in that on the Chinese side of the family, like just nobody like super successful, but people like my grandfather did paint like the governor of Hawaii and do sculptures and stuff like busts and things of some of those people. So it was around, you know, it was a sort of like a little bit of professional artists in the family. My dad, my whole life was a jeweler. So he was a designer, manufacturer. And when I was a kid, he would draw too, like draw Disney characters and stuff. So it was always around, always encouraged. It was always part of just our family. But no one really had like a specific job as an artist. And so like I still thought, you know, I want to be a cowboy or a firefighter or something, you know, heroic and cool that kids think. An astronaut, even though I had no interest in flying or anything like that. And so even up until I started college, I was just like, I don't know, I want to like play hockey and skate and whatever, you know, like just party. And I think I started community college and realized that I liked the art classes and I hated the other classes. So I would drop out of everything and I took all the art classes multiple times until I finally realized that that's probably the career I'm going to take. And all the teachers I had were kind of encouraging me to look at Art Center down here. And my cousin actually had gone to Art Center. So she took me to Art Center, like I think I was like 16 or something, just to go visit. And I met some people through her and kind of knew that I was thinking that maybe actually I was probably a little older. I think I was in college at the time. But she took me to stay with this guy who this Mr. Iguchi. He was like an Art Center teacher. He designed the Honda Civic. The original. He designed the look of Panasonic radios. This guy was a beast designer. And like I stayed at his house. It was an amazing house in like La Cañada or something. And he told me I gotta like dress better. I look like a homeless person and stuff. Cause like those designers were like wearing suits to school. But that was sort of like where I was like, okay, I'm going to try out Art Center and do the illustration. I got to see it out and see the school. And my cousin also, I don't remember if it was then or a little before, was dating this guy, Eric Tiemens, who's like, he worked on Star Wars and stuff like that stuff to me was what I really wanted to do. So I had a little bit of encouragement from them because they had gone to Art Center. And then some of my teachers in community college were like, you should probably do this, you know, and they were starting to let me like get out of class to work outside while everyone is in class working because I was just doing my own thing already. And then at some point, I think I was 20 years old, living in San Francisco. I was partying too much and just not doing much with my life and just seemingly getting into trouble all the time. And I just made the move to leave everything behind, 1998, to move to Los Angeles and try and get into Art Center. I hadn't gotten accepted, but my parents moved me down here. It's 22 years ago. And I started taking some classes. I applied to school and I got in and I got some scholarships and stuff. And I mean, at that point it was set. Once I moved to LA, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to school, do art. And I was inspired to do illustration. Actually, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to literally just work on Star Wars or any movie. You know, I thought storyboards were cool. Character design was cool.
And what veered you off of that course?
So starting up at Art Center, like I had met some of the teachers at that school. There's a lot of foundation in illustration. So I studied illustration because I wanted to illustrate, but I didn't realize how much figure drawing and figure painting was going to be happening and painting from life and drawing from life. And that's the thing I fell in love with most. And a lot of the teachers that were doing that were maybe like former illustrators who were just doing fine art. And I thought, wow, you know, it's really cool that these guys are just painting whatever they want and showing them in galleries and selling them. So I just kind of like got obsessed with oil painting portraits and went down that path. But at some point during Art Center, I also was like starting to change my mind and think about doing the entertainment illustration again. But then I just really stuck to oil portraits and the idea of teaching. And I graduated in 2002 from Art Center. And that month, the Los Angeles Academy of Figurative Art was just being born, and they were recruiting teachers that were graduating from Art Center and some of the teachers that were there. And so I got a job teaching the same month I graduated and just kind of started. I thought it was something I'd do when I was 50, you know, but I started it the same month I graduated. I got there in that school, which needed teachers. So I got a job. And then through there, I met somebody that worked at this gallery I wanted to show at, and she liked my work. So she showed it to the owner and he got me in the gallery. So that same month I started showing in a gallery and selling all the stuff I did in school. And I had, it started teaching. So it kind of just fell into my lap what I was going to be doing for the next 20 years, like instantly. And over the years, I've kind of changed. Like I've done a lot more illustration recently and things like that, like gone back to what I originally was going to do, but it took many years. And I would go off and on with teaching also throughout, because it's not the thing that like you do if you're an artist, I guess. It's like it's a different kind of job. It's a more generous, selfless job than just being an artist. So over the years, I've been doing that now. Like I think I started teaching at LAFA in 2002, but I had already done some, so it's been quite some time. Yeah, I've really like enjoyed teaching and just meeting people that way, and kind of like it's made me less of a introvert. Just because I've been forced to talk to people so much and make art in front of people.
Totally.
And you're really exposed. And it took me a long time to feel comfortable teaching, but, just years and years of it.
Yeah. But through teaching, do you both learn something new about yourself in terms of...
I was thinking that. Like, I've liked teaching. Like, I definitely haven't been teaching as long as Sean, but like, since I've been teaching, I think that I've become a less timid artist and like more confident, because I'm constantly telling people what I'm doing when I'm doing it. Like as an artist, like if you're working on stuff for a gallery, you're just working on personal work, you're not saying what you're doing when you're doing it, you just do it. And so to consciously be aware of this decisions that you're making when you're making them makes you become like very hyper aware of each decision that you're making and why. And it's been really helpful just me executing my personal work now, because I'm constantly thinking like, well, why am I doing that? Or, what's the point of this or whatever, like just applying it and knowing why has been very helpful for me.
I like that too, because so you came into teaching a little after having started your career. And for me, I started at the same time. And I was really struggling with that in the beginning, where I wanted to create rules for people so they had something to learn, yet it was taking away from my own sort of intuitive way of painting, where I'd be questioning everything I did. I'm like, what am I doing? Can I just paint? Do I have to make it a rule or a class? So I think because I got into teaching so young that and I hadn't started a career, it was like this kind of tough balance. But now it's been so long, like I get a lot out of teaching. I've learned a lot about like breaking rules or what kind of things, are silly that I've learned over the years. And I kind of was maybe repeating just out of habit, and eventually I'm like, why am I saying that still 15 years later? I don't even believe it.
Yeah. You have a lot of he has really a great amount of experience, and that's why I think that he's a great teacher, because he's so good at simplifying things, and it's very user friendly, I guess you could say, where it strips off the pretentiousness that art is, and it just is like, well, this is why, and everything makes sense, and there's an algorithm for every decision, and it's really cool because he can have the experience of having his formal training, and then the experience of starting a career and teaching career, like a gallery career and a teaching career at the same month that you're graduating, and then just building that at the same time. And now it's almost 20 years later, and there's a huge foundation of really impactful knowledge, I think. So that's
and I was cool. And then at some time when I got hired at Art Center to teach there, and I was there doing part-time for a long time, and I was teaching 6 to 7 classes a week, not just Art Center. I was at Art Center Otis, taught at Disney, taught at in town there was a few other places, LAFA and Three Kicks. So I'd be jumping around all week to different schools, and eventually Art Center had offered a full-time position, so I cut everything else out and just went to a salary and benefits. And that's the thing with teaching is some years I didn't teach, and some years I went full-time teaching. And I don't know, I like kind of the changes, and I need a little bit of that, I think, in my life. At some point I'd taught at Art Center for so long and consistent that I was tired of the schedule and tired of having a weekly obligation. And it's just not how I like to function. I can do it, and it does help, in some way, especially having a child. I have to kind of keep life a little bit more rigid, and I have to pay bills, and I can't be a starving artist. It's just not acceptable. So structure's okay, but
too, the same every day.
It was wearing me out,
complacent and redundant.
Yeah, well, Sean, it definitely seems like that you're someone that likes to be able to switch over to different mediums, whether it's you crafting, I don't know, a fun box for your for your kid, or to create something like your knife collection, and to be able to do the painting and the drawing, and then go into iPad, and then also even skateboarding and
music. And I had to cut out hockey. That was I was doing 3 to 4 days a week. But I'm fully distracted. Or something.
But do you think that actually makes you a better artist?
Absolutely. I need it. That's part of the balance to me. I can't, if I do one thing only for so long, at some point I'm not seeing it clearly. Yeah, I don't care. I'm frustrated. Not that projects don't need like kind of to be powered through, but yeah, like I can.
But that's also an interesting comparison too, because with painting, every decision so micro, right? I mean, well, you're a painter. You can speak better about this than I can, but I imagine that every decision is intentional and micro, right?
It's interesting because it is like painting can be very much that. Yeah. Like it can be very methodical and planned and careful, but painting it can also be like way more fun and loose, and then you can kind of like refine it. And you can almost start really raw and crazy and refine it. But like the woodworking or knife making, all that stuff, there's none of that. I'm not just like, you can't be painterly, you can't be sketchy. Like it's measuring, it's cutting, it's drilling, it's measuring a couple times. Like everything is it's a lot of planning, a lot of like different kind of mind game. You know, there's a creative aspect to it, to just kind of figuring out the problem before you start cutting. But you have to figure out the problem before you start cutting, because you have to build something
like perfect for his brain.
Crazy, yeah. Like so, it's a lot of measuring.
Why do you think that?
Because like as someone who didn't understand what went into knife making, as just a random person that doesn't collect knives or understand like the art of it, I'm learning it now, and just how much goes into what these people do and what Sean's doing is like, it's next level. Like, you know, you have, first of all, you think about the design of it. Then you have like, what kind of steel am I going to use? Am I going to use Damascus or whatever? And then like, okay, how am I going to build this? What kind of handle am I going to have? Is it going to have like little pins in it? Is it going to have this? And then you have to measure, and like, it's crazy the amount of work, but it's perfect for him. So he doesn't get bored, because there's, for one project and one knife, you have like probably 1,000 little things that go on inside of it that can go wrong. And like for him, loves problem solving. So it's like a huge puzzle, the whole thing. And so it's like, it's really perfect for someone like Sean, who's like needs a lot of distractions and can't like just do the same thing forever. I can't do the same thing forever. I'll die. Like there's not the same thing, and there's not the same problems in every knife. And it's like, you think everything's measured perfectly, and then it doesn't fit, and then it's just like, holy shit, now what? Like it's nonstop.
A new problem to solve, which is, I like that.
Yeah,
I don't
he loves
mind.
it. Like it's perfect for him, and it's amazing to watch it, like the obsession and the, you know, all that, like be manifested. Just like with any artistic endeavor, like you can have all these, you know, these feelings and anxieties about it, and then you finally like get to purge it, and you make it's like something out of it, and it's really cool.
And actually, on that same note too, though, painting, I've gotten to the point where I paint quickly, because I paint from life with timers in front of people. It's not something I do for months. It's something I do for a couple hours, you know, at a time. And now I'm doing these other art forms where it's like months of working on a piece, or just, you know, I've spent like whole days just hand sanding something, you know, and that's crazy compared to like making a portrait in 2 hours. Hand sanding one piece of metal for 8 hours is a fully different brain.
It's not even like the full piece of metal. It's like one little part of
right,
the thing.
Yeah. And what I'm finding right now is, I just started during this pandemic learning engraving. So I've got gear making chisels and stuff for engraving, and that art form is it's hard because it's more similar to painting and drawing, because it is painting and drawing, but it's got the metalworking side, which is slower than drawing a line with a pencil or with a brush.
How many times do you say you have to go over it? Like 3 times or something?
Sometimes, like so I made this little guitar pick, and I engraved it. Real intricate design, but I did it all through a microscope, and it's cutting like, you know, hundreds of lines in it. And it took me like 2 days, you know, but I did a little guitar pick that's super detailed, yet a 3-hour portrait, you know, might look more complete and be more
accepted as
to people as a piece of art or worth some money. But it is actually affecting my engraving, where like I'm having trouble now because I'm such a quick painter, like slowing down for engraving, because like sometimes like I'll do an outline around, like the outline around the pick, like that's a solid probably 60 seconds at least of just cutting, like slow moving, as opposed to me just kind of throwing brushes around, which is how I paint. So it's weird for my mind to go back now to like, I need to like find my center, and like it's a form of meditation, but I find myself looking through that microscope and getting a little bit antsy and anxious because of my painterly ways.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. So it's gone like the reverse, but it'll be good. You know, I can find myself again. You know, I'm so obsessed with engraving that it's like I don't have a choice other than to just get through that anxiety. Right,
that's the thing. Is like
slow myself down.
Just do it. Like once you get obsessed with something, like you have to just go for it, or else your brain will eat itself.
Yeah, and so we'll see. I mean, it may help my painting. It may make me more patient with painting. I'm a pretty patient painter, but even being a patient painter is much faster than being a fast engraver. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Kate, what about you? Do you find creating artwork to be a meditative thing? Because it definitely sounds like for you, Sean, it's being able to go that micro and be able to engrave something for a couple of days. You even said it would put you in a meditative state, right?
I think everything I do that's not drawing and painting is my meditation, is my like centering and finding my, just like feeding my soul. Because drawing and painting, like, while it's my first love and my main big thing, it's my job, it really is. Like I do it only for money now. And that's just because I have to have a job and make money and live in California, and it's very expensive. So you got to make good money to kind of live, just to survive. And so like it became like the way I made money, and that's it. Like it's hard for me to like enjoy that, it's like I do enjoy it because it's there, but I only save the energy for that to make the money, and so when I want to go grab my guitar, which I've been doing longer than actually doing art, professionally, I guess, grabbing the guitar, grabbing the other thing, that's me just like trying to like calm down, breathe, get
like
everything.
Shift your brain from
it's still, I still have to be busy making something, but like I need to like change gears or whatever and do something more that's not for sale. Like people want to buy knives from me now and buy, whatever I'm making. It's like, I don't want to ruin that too. I'll quit if you do that. If you start buying my knives, I just don't think people will put in. I don't want to charge people like stupid amounts of money that like would make it feel okay for me.
Charge stupid amounts of money for like the hour.
Yeah, it's just
working.
like, so I really just do things like that purely to feed my soul.
Yeah, and I guess like art for me, like making stuff, cleaning stuff, cooking stuff, it's the same. Like I'm always doing something. I don't like sit down all day. Like I'm always doing stuff, whether it be like we have 2 dogs, playing with the dogs, teaching them or teaching one to do stuff.
Cleaning up after me.
Cleaning up after Sean. Making Sean food. I'm just kidding. No, like just anything that I'm doing, it's another meditative sort of thing. Like you said, it feeds your soul. Like it just makes you feel alive, I guess.
Baking during the holiday season.
Been making some candies.
Butterfingers,
maybe some Butterfingers.
That's the one thing I think about food art is great. Is that there's a visual aspect, there's the smell, and then then you get to eat it. Like
and everybody's happy when they eat.
So it's like it's nice,
and it's nice to share it too. Like I know it's like a weird time to like share food, but like our neighbors or people that we know that are up to their COVID testing and all that stuff. Like nice to share like the food aspect. So there's a lot of layers to, the different things that we're into and how it helps us. But yeah, I don't know if I could spend more than one day just sitting in a bed and not doing anything. Like that would like, it makes me feel like claustrophobic. Like,
yeah, now you're like picking up the flute and playing. And
like I'll bring the flute back to the bed and just like practice a little bit or something. Like I'm always like, I might not be as like actively making things like Sean, but I am like doing things. So it's definitely like a meditative thing. I have to do it, like whatever.
Yeah. So I always ask this question, but do you two have any advice for artists and creatives?
I mean, that's all I do when I teach, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot. You could pay for it, or you could do the simple. I'm just kidding.
I think like,
well, what's your free advice?
Don't stop. Like,
don't stop.
For me, it would just be like, don't stop. Because honestly, like I show my like beginning work at workshops, like in person. And I'm like, guys, seriously, like look at my beginning work. Like you can do it. Like you just have to have like.
What do those beginning works look like?
They're rough. They're really, I thought it was like so much better than it was. And now it's just so embarrassing because of how cocky I was in my head whenever I was making it. It's like, I started out wanting to make monsters and do like creepy stuff and like really like dark shit, but I'm not that creative. Like I can't just come up with it out of my head. I didn't have any basis of reality. So that's why I ended up in realism, like trying to, how does the shape work with the light and whatever, without actually like thinking that at the time. So I ended up in realism. I started out trying to make monsters. So those are interesting. The beginning works of just like, what are you doing?
I want to see some of those beginning works.
I'll show you. It's embarrassing. But also it's like,
well, you should see my beginning photographs. They're real embarrassing.
Let's compare.
It's real embarrassing. So I bet yours are much better than mine.
Well, we'll compare and contrast. It'll be great. Yeah, but it's like, it's nice to like have that. Like this was 10 years ago for me. Like, if you don't stop and you really like want it, like it'll happen for you. Like it might not be at the same pace, it might take longer, it might be faster, but like for my advice would be just like everybody starts at a certain place, so just don't stop. Like you might be your worst critic, but just know that we are too. Like I'm my worst critic, so whatever is going through someone that's just starting out, your brain, it's still going through my brain. Like we're not different, just keep going. That's
you
all.
have to be your worst critic if you want to grow.
Right. Otherwise, like, why are you even making it? Do you even like painting? Like, if you're the best, if you think you're the best, like, why would you want to keep going? Go do something else and learn how to do something else.
Ego.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Yeah. It's like, I think like
You have good
in
advice.
this, well, it's hard. I mean, who are we talking to? You know, like there's
what
a
is
bunch
the
of different
demographic?
crowds for art and advice. And I think like it's weird in this day and age with so much social media, internet stuff, YouTube, everyone's posting highlight reels, you know? So it's like everybody's a badass and everybody who's not doing it and wants to do it thinks they have to be a badass like instantly, or that they can be a badass even, you know, like,
Or that they can never.
or that they might never, but so it's like this weird kind of thing where it's all skewed because people have all these ideas about things and just forget the fact that like hard work is what everything takes.
There's no
you know?
trick
Like,
to it. Like you can have like workshops are great, having an artist community is great, like learning from other people, but like at the end of the day, that's not going to make your hand hit that paper any differently. Like
you gotta
have
just
to
put
have the muscle
that
memory.
time in, the hours, and then also just a lot of people want to be artists to be famous. Like that's stupid too. Like, do you like art? Be an artist because you're an artist and you do it.
know
Like
what they
you're
say about
the
artists?
most famous artists probably that you know of weren't famous until they were dead, and they were broke. And like that's what art is. You know, you do it because you like it or you love
have
it,
to,
and you have to not because you need to make money.
It's not really the most lucrative.
But you know
careers.
what? I mean, you can, you know, I'm not saying you can't, but it's just so weird. There's a different mentality in all kinds of, I think, careers nowadays. It's like this, it's just weird.
Like the disillusion.
There's an illusion.
I guess.
Yeah. It's like, even like with my son skateboarding, you know, he watches all these guys doing crazy tricks and like, he just started skating this year. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
I
get
can't
so
do those. And I've
frustrated.
skated for 40 years, you know, I'm like, I can't do it. So you're doing better than I am, you know, I'm just like, it's like you don't see that hard work. You don't see that dude tried that trick like for multiple days or years at that
Then
same
started
spot
filming
and
it.
then filmed it finally, you know, like you don't see that part. So I think it's the same with art. You get a lot of people who want it to be easier than it is because you just see a lot of people doing it, you know, but you don't realize like those people obsessed, you know, and maybe some people had more natural talent than others or better teachers or whatever. And that's true too. You know, I think you can practice bad things, you know, and never get good, you know, find proper instructors
you
or
had said something
good.
one time, like instead of like practice makes perfect, like perfect.
Right. I've heard,
practice makes
this
perfect.
saying like practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect.
If you're practicing
because
something wrong, then
if
it's
you
always gonna
practice
be
cutting
wrong.
crooked lines all the time, you'll never be able to cut a straight line, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's it. You know, it's just, but again, you know, art should be just fun and fulfilling. It doesn't have to be painful.
Because of what you want to do. Like something I've learned during the pandemic and a couple of years before, like when Instagram's algorithm shifted and everybody was like, what the hell? Like it's not chronological anymore. No one's seeing my post, Like I was devastated. I was super depressed because I started my career on Instagram. Like I didn't have like anything before that. Like it was just like I went from Tumblr and then I went to Instagram. So I was like one of those like Instagram artists. I didn't have anything like solidly backed up. Like I showed in galleries every now and then, but I didn't want to show in galleries anymore.
Yeah, and you're probably getting a lot of positive affirmations from a lot of
Definitely.
people
I'm like,
liking.
oh, I'm doing it okay. But also at the same time, I only was catering to that to sell. Like if I need to pay my bills, sell a few things online, bing, bang, boom. But it's always like, I know what they want. I know they want a highlight in the eye. I know they want like, you know, this or that. But since like that happened and since the pandemic, but I mean, it happened before that. Like definitely Sean was really helpful because he's like, why did you even start making art? Like you didn't make it for Instagram. Like you're making it for you. So now you have the freedom. Like you can think of this as like an opportunity to just get back to why you're making art. Have fun, like be creative again instead of just making this like this same thing all the time to sell it.
Yeah.
And so that's helped me a lot is just like making stuff that I want to make. Even if like I get like 3 likes or something, like who cares? Like it's not real anyway. None of those people are like if I had $1 for everyone was paying me that, or everyone that was following me, that would be a different story. But no, it's free content. So it means nothing, like however many followers or likes you get. So at this point, it's just like making art because I like to make art. And it's been really nice reminder and back to myself about it instead of like for the masses or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to remind yourself of.
It's hard. I mean, everybody's on social media. Everybody it's hard not to think about posting the picture of the thing you just made if you're proud of it, you know, because that's just how we are now. You know, we want to feel good about it. We want to share it.
Yeah, like, guys, look what I did.
But yeah, it's just a little bit of a trap, you know. It's just, but it's the way it is. You know, I think kids nowadays are going to have to all deal with it. It's just life.
Yeah, I feel a little fortunate to know that, like, I'm in that like bridge generation where like I grew up without internet. We got it when I was like 16, and then I didn't have a cell phone until I was like 18, maybe 18, I think. So like I didn't have it, but then I've had it ever since then. But I know that like there is a life outside of the internet, and it's hard whenever everything we do now revolves around internet and, you know, social media and everything.
Definitely.
Like it's hard to imagine that you can function without it. And it might be really hard and impossible sometimes, but even if, you know, like the last couple of years have been hard, like with the shift in algorithms and whatever, like I'm still here. So it doesn't affect you as much as you might think. You become, like we talked about before, like adapting. You just keep adapting to whatever's going on, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Recently too, it's been weird. Like there's been commissions coming in and stuff for both of us.
Just really randomly, like all of a sudden, I was like swamped in commissions.
People are wanting art or something, you know. People
because they're in their house, they want to like have nice stuff.
So it's kind of interesting. It's like an interesting thing where it's like it's scary and we lost a lot of work, but we've gained other work. Just kind of like not really seeking it out, you know. Sort of like we got lucky or something, or I don't know. It's like it's
really
been okay,
it's
like
adapted
lately.
itself. Also, like, you know, it's just
as we sort of try to adapt or figure it out, but.
Yeah, because mostly we have to go to people. Like if they want to learn, we go to them. Like they organize a thing, we go to them. Now it's like they have to find you if they like your work. Now they figure it out or they buy your stuff from you instead of like just waiting. Now it's kind of, I feel like a lot more people have like now what better time than now? Like I've been waiting to have this free time to learn how to do art. I've been waiting for this free time to, you know, hang stuff up on my walls or, you know, whatever it might be. And I think people are now kind of realizing how important self-care is, and whether that be exercising, whether it's eating right or having art around you or learning how to do art. I think that that's a big part of like what's going on right now in 2020 is just like, oh, it's okay to not work 12 hours a day and then have to come home immediately and then do all this other shit and just be like crazy micromanaged throughout your entire day. Now it's like, oh, well, who am I? Like, what do I want to do? Like, might as well, like, we might not be here next year, or, you know, you never know. And so I think that, I mean, this is just my hypothesizing, but I think that it makes more sense on why now people are really reaching out and really like, I don't know, embracing art more.
Yeah,
maybe?
A lot of people like you can't find music instruments now. People are buying them. People are learning chess because of stuff.
That movie or that show. There's like no chess sets anywhere.
Like Queen's Gambit.
That's good.
Yeah. I actually just got commissioned to make a chess set.
Yeah.
And I got commissioned to make a knife this year, so I'm venturing off into the maker and painter
he's like,
thing. But
people are recognizing like that's his, you know, like artists change and evolve, and like this is just a new medium, and it's like it's nice that he's got good support for it. So where it's like,
I'm pumped about it actually. Yeah, just
to
not paint, you know, just to build something for somebody sounds fun. But so one thing I wanted to say about that too, just how people are finding art again, is that like I've taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade art and stuff to my son's classes, and there was a period there, like at age 10 is where they start flipping their mentalities a little bit. Every kid's an artist. So that means every person was an artist at some point, more naturally so, you know. But all those kids, no matter what the project was, they all did it. They all liked it. They all did well. They were all eager to give. And they went for it. Yeah. Somewhere along, I think it was the 4th or 5th grade, I started having a couple of the kids saying, I can't do it. I'm like, where did this come from all of a sudden? Like this can't idea. And it was really making it hard for them just to make something and enjoy it. And I think the doubt, and I think it's put in there, you know, in society pretty early, but like people are finding it again. Everyone kind of has it, you know, a little bit. And I think it just gets kind of squashed so early that like, you might never find it again. But like, I think it's cool that people are finding it.
Like, hey, I remember when I used to really.
But it was like so clear watching children over a period of years change. You know, it's really interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah. And then that makes me think of just secondhand values from like parents or
right. There's no
teachers.
There's hardly anybody promoting arts, you know. I feel like in at least in American school systems,
right.
you know,
Definitely.
you got to seek it out. You got to like, I would love for my son to go to like one of the art high schools as opposed to like just whatever public school, you know, and kind of start getting into the more music regularly and all of it, you know, all the stuff that I think is important.
Life. Like,
he's a full on artist, so I think he needs to like be nurtured that way.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for coming and doing this and taking the time.
Yeah, it's been nice chatting.
Thank
You.
you.
Yeah, Definitely.
Thanks for having us.
All right, cool. Yeah, I guess that's where we just stop. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, all right, bye. All right, thank you. Music for the podcast is by Rarebit, aka Justin Dosher Hopkins. Creative producer is Noah Wainwright. YouTube and creative support is by Tyler Scully. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.